That's it, time to rank bosses at level 1. I swear I'm not a top 10 this, top 10 that kind of ranking channel, but there's a thin line I may cross at any point now. Anyways, I will talk about my favorite bosses at level 1, so grab a drink, get some snacks, and enjoy my suffering. I didn't include the entirety of the fights because I can't really fit a 5-minute boss footage when I only talk about them for like 2 minutes. But if you want to see the entirety of the boss fights, let me know in the comments. I will upload a separate video of each boss fight without any cuts. Alright, like and share the video with your grandma, and once you please the engagement gods, we can start the video. Right, let's go. While playing Rune level 1, one massive advantage of fighting bosses that inflict heavy status effect is it doesn't even matter. If she hits me once, I'm dead anyway, so good luck with that Scarlet Rot of yours, Romina. I'm completely immune. When I played Shadow of the Erdtree for the first time, Romina was an okay boss. I didn't love her fight, but I also didn't hate it. It was just not a memorable fight. But looking at her again, I think she's an amazing boss with some minor flaws. My only complaint is how her model occasionally goes through a wall and you can't really see an upcoming hit. Game industry's obsession with ray tracing is cool and all that, but can we please make collision physics an industry standard? Anyways, enough whining. What is great about Romina's fight? Well, I always appreciated some passionate, unique minor bosses. Romina is pretty much an upgrade to Nashka and Quelag, but there are also some clear downgrades in certain parts. Despite her size and her moveset, I don't remember having any issue with the camera. Her attacks are always easy to read, and once you see the trick behind each hit, she isn't badly telegraphed at all. Among all the Elden Ring bosses, Romina feels like the most video gamey, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. She spins around, she starts rolling across the arena, she starts flying, there are butterflies all around the screen exploding at once. Romina is a much simpler boss who still manages to offer a visually stunning boss fight. She was of course annoying at times with some annoying attacks, but overall I really enjoy how she makes use of her interesting model. I will not curse you this time, Bale. This guy is actually an amazing boss. Now here's the thing, if I put Midir and Bale side by side, I would say I enjoy Midir more, but when it comes to a level 1 run, Bale is without a doubt the superior dragon here. Like any other Souls boss, Bale also repeats his attacks quite often, but somehow Bale's encounter never feels repetitive. I can fight him 10 times in a row and somehow each fight would still feel fresh. Now, Bale's lore and design aside, his arena is also flawless. It is one of the most beautiful boss rooms in the Souls franchise, and the location itself plays a big role in my sympathy for the boss fight. But as much as I love the fight, I don't want to ignore the elephant in the room. Bale's forward fire breath is an absolute garbage. My countless Bale attempts convinced me that Miyazaki has a giant red button in his office specially designed to mess with people fighting this overgrown lizard. When he is doing that flame breath, what you need to do is simple, just run left or right, and it is literally all you have to do. But half the time Miyazaki will push that red button and the breath attack will incinerate you for no reason. It's not like I was failing to this breath attack every time, but it always felt random. You can do everything right and it can still hit you, because why not? But anyways, Rune level 1 run also means you have to complete the boss hitless. Best case, you can use Flask to get an extra hit, but memorizing boss pattern is the key for a level 1 run. Bale doesn't have the most complicated or dangerous attacks, but avoiding him for 5 minutes straight is still a challenge. His massive health bar and short openings in between each attack stretches the fight quite a bit. I failed a lot of attempts entirely because I was too greedy with my light attacks. But once you get used to each attack, and once the RNG gods favor you during that breath attack, Bale shows how amazing a dragon fight can be. Camera isn't going all over the place, Bale isn't running across the boss arena once every 5 seconds, there are no cheap attacks, no quick attacks that will punish you for no reason. Bale is definitely one of the most difficult bosses for Rune level 1, and training phase of the fight is definitely a pain, but in the end I believe reward is worth the trouble. Here comes the most fair boss From Software has ever made. It's not a subjective opinion, I'm spitting pure facts. When you look at it, Godfrey doesn't really have any flaws. I'm not saying he's the best boss ever made, but he is up there. Godfrey's fight definitely has a decent learning curve, but he's probably the easiest endgame boss when you put some time into it. Every single one of his attacks are super easy to read as long as you pay attention and as long as you don't try to sneak in an extra hit or two. This is one fight you want to be as aggressive as possible. Godfrey attacks almost non-stop, so the more opportunities you waste, more likely some random hit from his axe will eventually connect. Fight itself is a bit one-dimensional. You dodge once or twice, and based on your weapon speed you hit once or twice. If he dashes away from you, then you punish him with a jumping attack. First phase is simple, really, just repeat the same strategy until he loses half of his health bar. Probably the only thing that can cause a problem is the stamina management. There's almost no waiting in between dodging and attacking, so believe it or not, almost all my fails in this fight were stamina related, where I didn't realize my stamina bar was completely empty. Second phase is a bit more challenging and eventful. His earthquake attacks are comparatively difficult to time because you can't really rely on visual effects. But thankfully, you can just outrun the explosion without any risk. Overall, Godfrey is a really simple level 1 boss, but that doesn't make his encounter any less impressive. He is still one of the best bosses in Elden Ring, and his entire boss fight is still one of the most entertaining fights out there. Morgoth is an interesting boss. Great lore, great boss fight, but despite doing almost everything right, Morgoth was never my favorite. Maybe he was overshadowed by all the fancy endgame bosses, maybe there's another reason, I don't know. It's interesting, it's a boss I like and don't care at all simultaneously. His biggest and probably the only flaw in both versions is the absurd quick attack that leaves huge room for RNG. When you play as intended, you may get hit, lose a bit of health and move on, but it is not the case for such a challenge run. If a badly telegraphed unfair quick attack catches you off guard, that is a one-hit insta-kill. But of course, single annoying attack doesn't ruin the entire fight. Despite his speed, Morgoth leaves a lot of room for punishing attacks. He moves around quite a bit, but as much as he runs away, he also charges right back into the fight. Initially, he has a couple attacks that are difficult to react to, but other than the quick dagger attack, he doesn't really have anything unfair. Morgoth isn't the most difficult boss, and the best part about his encounter is the fact that he doesn't overstay his welcome. He doesn't have a massive health bar, he doesn't stall the encounter with absurdly long animations. And his second phase is a lot of fun. His new attacks add enough variety to the boss fight, and overall it is an amazing, fast-paced, engaging encounter with non-stop action. Malekith is definitely a scary boss, but no one can deny how fun the entire fight is. Especially his first phase, he's super quick. 1 second he's throwing random stuff, next he's in front of you giving you the classic Nightwalk in London experience with his kitchen knife. Anytime I reach Malekith with a level 1 character, I assume I will be stuck here for an hour, but despite the overly aggressive moveset and intimidating speed, this fight is never chaotic. After that annoying Godskin duo, Malekith always feels fair and entertaining. Now this is the part I would talk about the things I don't like about the boss fight, but Malekith doesn't really have any problem. His moveset in the first phase has a decent variety. It's not a regular dodge and then attack type of fight. At times you will have to jump over some attacks, then there are some other moves that leave him entirely vulnerable for a decent duration. You can just step aside and enjoy the free attack window where you can unleash an entire combo. This is one boss you have to position yourself, you have to jump over attacks, you have to make most of every single opportunity you get. There are rarely any idle moments. Even if he creates distance, he will continue putting pressure on you with various range attacks. Fast-paced fights combined with low posture bar not only rewards an aggressive playstyle, but also makes the entire encounter infinitely more entertaining. And then comes the second phase. Seeing him jump from one pillar to another as he is unleashing his anime moves never gets old. And once again, just like Romina, his own hit effects don't mean anything. It is cool that he can inflict a nasty damage over time and reduce my maximum health, but sadly it means nothing to me. If that sword touches me, I'm dead anyway. Overall, the second phase isn't too difficult. He jumps around more often and he doesn't really stay in one place for more than a couple seconds. But once you figure out which attacks are delayed and what are the range of each explosion, you can't really fail in the second phase. Probably the only thing that causes an issue in the second phase is being impatient. If you try to sneak in one extra attack, you will probably get caught in an AoE explosion. Overall, Malekith is an intimidating, fast, aggressive boss with a fair and balanced moveset. I said it many times before, I will say it again, Mesmer is my favorite boss in Elden Ring, and possibly in all Souls games. He does everything right, unlike Promise Consort Radahn. Fight starts with an explosion, but Mesmer instantly leaves himself vulnerable. You have enough time to check your full combo damage and inflict a decent amount of posture damage. He has a lot of different attacks, and each one complements the flow of the fight perfectly. If you see Mesmer land too far away after an attack, you know he will charge right back in. He can repeat the same combo twice in a row, but he may entirely change the final attack in the combo chain. He may add an extra attack, or he may cut the combo and initiate the next one. His first phase is easy to counter as long as you know how to take advantage of the openings. Staying on his tail and being as aggressive as possible is the key. Running away and stalling the fight means he will probably cast a fireball and time his spear attack in such a way that it won't be possible to dodge two attacks at the same time. With some fancy attacks and a lot of openings, first phase is quite easy to pass. Second phase improves the fight even further. Overall, the second phase is slightly easier than the first one despite all the serpent attacks. Main reason is the posture bar. If you slow down towards the end of the first phase, you can actually delay the posture break to the next one. And naturally, that means within the first 15 seconds of the fight, you can posture break Mesmer and inflict an absurd amount of damage. Also, at the end of his serpent attacks, Mesmer's hitbox doubles for a split second. With a single well-timed attack, actually, it doesn't even have to be well timed. With a single attack, you can hit both Mesmer and Serpent at the same time, and you can essentially double your damage. This is basically your burst damage phase, because on top of dealing double damage, you also deal double status and posture damage. Probably his only dangerous attack is when he summons a gang of serpents, but there's a decent visual clue right before the actual attack happens. So, just open your eyes and run away when you see the visual clue. If I wanted to complain about the fight, or at least say one bad thing about it, it would be the lack of another phase. I love this fight so much that I would be okay if Mesmer had an extra phase or two. Right, this was basically the entire list, but let's end the video with some honorable and dishonorable mentions. Divine Beast is quite annoying up until you learn the fighting pattern, but once you figure it out, it's an amazing fight. I just wish the camera wasn't actively sabotaging the fight itself. I love Midra's fight a lot, but the reason why I didn't give him a full spot is, well, I recently talked about him in a similar video, and I don't want to repeat the same things. Great fight, feels like a Dark Souls 3 boss, fun moveset, amazing art direction, great boss. Love it. Dragon is definitely one of the best bosses in the base game. I just wish it wasn't followed by Elden Beast in the next phase. And as for the dishonorable mentions, Finger isn't a bad boss, but it is my kryptonite. It is only in the dishonorable mentions because I am quite bad at this fight. Just look at this abomination, she has fingers everywhere. I just don't know which one will hit me next. And that giant explosion before his second phase, it is pure pain. I don't know, it is a fun boss and I love the design, but man, the amount of attacks that I fail to dodge in this fight is unreal. So, long story short, I'm bad at this fight, so it goes to dishonorable mention. Promise Consort Radahn is a unique boss. I don't hate the fight, but it never feels fun. Overly long combos followed by delayed explosions, frame drops, massive health bar. It is not a bad fight, but it feels like a chore at times. It is a decent boss and I don't mind the difficulty. After all, my character is level 1 for a reason, but it is not a fight I'm a fan of. If you ask me what was the hardest boss in your first ever level 1 run, unironically it was Gideon. Malenia, Malekith, Mohg, every other boss was easier than this lunatic. The fact that he never stops spamming random spells means if you miss an attack and fail to stun him once, he will spam for the rest of the fight. Easiest endgame boss always turns into an absolute nightmare during level 1 runs. Take everything wrong with Gideon Ofnir and double down. Just when I thought nothing could beat Gideon, Jory joined the fight. You can at least stunlock Gideon for the entire fight, but it is not the case with this guy. You can backstab him once or twice, but then he starts teleporting all over the place. He summons a bunch of enemies, and his spells come with 50 projectiles. If one of them connects, it is a game over. Jory is the easiest filler boss in the DLC, but level 1 makes him more frustrating than any other boss. Okay, this is all for today. If you liked the video, give a like. If you disliked it, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. It's all engagement anyways. I will see you on the next one. Bye.